Hey, guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a story of what if Naruto trained seriously, after the Sasuke retrieval arc. After Naruto and Sasuke's fight at the Valley of the End, Naruto has an epiphany, and everything he thought about changes. Now during his training trip with Jiraiya, the blonde trains like crazy, returning to the village, 2.5 years later, as a new shinobi. One who vows to protect the village even if it costs his life. However, those who knew his usual nature wished he didn't change. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, it means a lot to me, and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic. Now let's start the story. Author note: hello there and welcome to another chapter of regret. Now, last chapter, the tri-alliance between Konohagakure, Tsunagakure and Kumogakure was formed, consisting of the strongest shinobi from each village to aid the Jinchuriki in their battle against Akatsuki. Elsewhere, Sasuke got to learn from the Akatsuki organization's leader, and officially still, Tobi, the truth about Uchiha Itachi and how Konoha had betrayed the Uchiha clan. In manipulating the poor Uchiha's mind, Tobi managed to get another ally that happened to awake the Mangenkyo Sharingan. While the Uchiha rival gets stronger by training with Tobi, Naruto gets an offer from Jiraiya to activate the fox's chakra. On a side note, since I know people will like to know, I don't plan for him to learn senjutsu, since I don't actually believe in the necessity of him being able to assess the Nine Tails chakra and then learn a much weaker skill, in my opinion, that is Sage chakra. I even believe that Kishimoto placed senjutsu first so that Naruto had something to use against the fox. Now, wonder what will happen once the seal holding the fox is loose. Will his skills be enough to subdue the fox? Also, what will happen to Sasuke now that he will be alone in his hunt against Itachi? Here is the chapter. Chapter 20. The Namikaze's Uchiha Sasuke was seen training with his new Mangenkyo Sharingan. Now that he had awakened the next evolution of the Sharingan eyes, he felt himself getting closer to fulfilling his newest ambition. His new goal to destroy Konoha could only compare to the amount of hatred he felt over his brother for what he did against the clan. Of course, Sasuke's new hatred was only fueled by his old one. To believe that everything happened because the Hokage and the Council of Elders had ordered Itachi to do so. The fact that his clan was planning a coup against the village seemed irrelevant to his reasoning now as he went through every skill he had, this time faster and stronger. At this point, Sasuke believed himself to be unstoppable. His eyes showed him everything in slow motion while he moved at his usual speed. Truly, Sasuke was proud of the accursed eye that blessed his clan since its foundation. However, after all his excitement in testing his new set of eyes, one thought still lingered in his mind. Yes, the Sharingan was a fearful tool, and even with his 3-tome Sharingan, few ever managed to get past Sasuke or even beat him in open combat. Yet, he wouldn't be in the spot he was now, if one Uzumaki Naruto didn't kick the living shit out of him. To this day, Sasuke still couldn't see how the Dobi could be that strong. Even his cursed seal level 2 wasn't enough against that red energy of his. It was Sasuke's second time fighting a Jinchuriki and a second loss for him. The first time it was against Gaara, Suna's Jinchuriki at the time of the invasion. He imagined that since Itachi was chosen by the Akatsuki to hunt the Biju, then Sasuke presumed that the man was able to beat them even when the demon containers uses the demon's powers. Though, so far there was no news or any proof that Itachi did defeat a Jinchuriki in battle, since according to the man who saved him from Naruto, Itachi was to be used in capturing the Kyuubi no Yoko not only because of the Sharingan, but also because Itachi had knowledge of all of Konoha's secret passageways, since he was an Anbu captain. Now practicing with his special sword and lighting chakra, Sasuke needed all the strength he could get to at least match his brother in strength. Attacking Konoha without it would be suicide. Plus, he was confident that his brother would be pissed at Konoha for placing him in said position. Sasuke was already picturing the village being burned by the dark flames of Amaterasu. The thought alone managed to place a rather satisfied smile on his face as he imagined his blade piercing every single one of them who dared betray his clan. Looking from above the valley, Tobi could see Sasuke smiling from no reason and could only venture a guess as to what made the young Uchiha smile so viciously. It was quite amusing to the unofficial leader of Akatsuki how easily he could twist the minds of others, playing in their hatred. Sasuke was actually quite easier than he assumed it would be. After all, the boy already carried a large amount of hatred over Itachi. Toby only needed a small fact to redirect said hatred to Konoha. There was no doubt in his mind that Sasuke would be facing the Kyuubi Jinchuriki once more. This time, though, the Mangenkyu Sharingan would be more than enough to defeat Naruto, allowing the Akatsuki to make the move and capture the Jinchuriki. Toby just kept watching Sasuke train, when a creature appeared from the ground behind him. Toby didn't even need to turn to discuss with the present half-man half-plant, before Zetsu began to talk, beginning with the black part. The Raikage and the Kazekage had arrived in Konoha with their Jinchuriki and a few elite Junin. It seems the rumor of their alliance was true after all. The Tsuchikage no doubt wanted nothing to do with anything involving an alliance with Konoha, and the Mizukage's forces are too depleted to focus on anything but the consequences of their civil war. Nevertheless, the three villages alone possess enough fire power to stand their ground against us, I guess. Go and tell Pain, I'll be keeping Sasuke-kun here some company. The plant shinobi nodded, before going back to where he came from, leaving Toby alone to ponder on the new turn of events. Akatsuki alone couldn't hope to march against a war, but perhaps this alliance doesn't involve a straight war, because for that to happen, both Iwa and Kiri had to join as well. No village is that stupid to use most of its force for this war and leave the village unprotected, unless all the 5 great hidden villages joined in the alliance. That being said, it would be a battle of their elite against the Akatsuki members. Toby smirked at that. The remaining Jinchuriki would be coming to them, relieving the organization from having to find all of them. In Konoha right after leaving the meeting, the members of the newly formed squad went to their respective rooms for the day along with the cages of the 2 other villages. Naruto and Jiraiya were already gone from the room, as they had now a very important assignment ahead of them. In 2 days' time, they would have to meet the squad for team practices. Right now, the 2 Toad summoners were at the top of the Hokage building and Naruto was practically trembling in anticipation as he didn't know what to expect now. He was even more unsettled by the fact that Kyuubi hasn't uttered a single word after hearing that Naruto would be receiving all of its chakra. The Chunin had already access to 3 taels worth of power without succumbing to the chakra's malice. Jiraiya, for his turn, wasn't facing his student now, as in mere moments, there would be no secret left to tell the kid. Frankly, he was dreading the outcome, but he realized it was a necessity. The Yondaime meant for Naruto to use it after all. Without turning to meet his student's questioning gaze, Jiraiya waited for a while, before both of them vanished in thin air. Naruto didn't have the time to wonder what was going on, before he vanished as well. When he opened his eyes once more, he saw that they were in a different landscape. Jiraiya was there as well as Gamabunta, Gamakichi and 2 small toads in front of him. He looked around for a while, trying to find out where he was. Welcome Naruto-chan, to Mount Myoboku. Naruto was busy trying to locate the voice, before focusing on the small toad with the black cape. My name is Fugasaku. Wait, how did I get here and why I am here? This time, Jiraiya explained, unless he wanted Naruto to know that something was wrong in his behavior. When you signed the contract, you set up a link with the toads. Just like we can summon them, they could also summon us to their world. And as to why you're here, Fugasaku-sama here has prepared a special room for you to have access to the other half of the fox's chakra. As he expected, the Chunin showed him a confused face at the mention of the word, half. He was counting on that as he explained the entire story in pieces. When the Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi no Yoko, he sealed only half of the fox's chakra in you. He sealed the other half inside a seal with the help of the toads to be later given to you when you're ready. Jiraiya was silently hoping that the kid wouldn't ask questions about the Yondaime, but rather about the current course of action. Naruto spent some time processing the information, before he turned to see Jiraiya doing some hand seals before a scroll came out of his throat. He turned to Fugasaku, seeing as Jiraiya was busy with something. So how am I supposed to release the other half? Certainly it can't be as easy as simply ripping the seal from the fox's cage. The small toad grimly nodded. All will be explained in time, but I can assure you it won't be easy. Put it simply, it will be required of you to face the fox and defeat it in battle. A silence soon ruled the conversation as Jiraiya was busy doing some changes to what appeared to be a large seal being held by a strange-looking toad. The prospect of facing the beast inside of him was too much for Naruto to process now. He was looking down, questioning about the slight possibility of him being able to defeat the strongest tailed beast when Jiraiya came and placed a soothing hand on his shoulder. Naruto immediately looked at Jiraiya's face, wondering what the man had to say. This is something that you must do, Naruto. Normally, I wouldn't put you through this now, but time sadly was taken from you. Without it, you won't have what it takes against Akatsuki. The Chunin processed it all as he looked at Jiraiya's steeled expression. This was something left to him by the Yondaime Hokage, the man Naruto considered his idol. There was no way in hell he would back down from this. He believed himself strong enough to land a couple of significant blows to the fox. If he didn't try, then all the battles, all the training he did to be prepared would be for nothing. He saw in all their eyes that in order for the procedure to start, he would need to at least show his intention to go through with it. If not, then he would be killed for sure and the fox would take the opportunity to try and release itself from Naruto's body. Okay, let's go then. They all nodded with a smile, before Jiraiya ushered Naruto to the seal he was working on just seconds ago. First, you need to place your hand on the square in the middle of the seal. Please do so, focusing your chakra and the seal will do the rest. Naruto nodded at the Sannin, before his fingers started glowing with blue energy. He walked towards the seal in great anticipation as he didn't know what would happen once he touched the seal. His heart started beating faster, but his resolve pushed him to go all the way. As soon as he felt the touch, he looked at the seal expecting some sort of bright energy coming from the seal and the fox appearing in front of him. When nothing happened, he looked around to see if he did anything wrong, earning a smile from Jiraiya. Easy there kiddo, you have just completed the first phase of the procedure. The seal in front of you is the key meant to open the gate. Now open your mouth as wide as possible. The Chunin looked at the man for a while wondering why the hell he needed to do that, but complied. No sooner his mouth was wide open, the toad that carried the seal took the opportunity and jumped right in, surprising the Chunin as he looked at Jiraiya and everyone in shock. It was Fugasaku who jumped and kicked the toad's butt, forcing it down Naruto's throat. Jiraiya smirked as he saw Naruto coughing uncontrollably on the ground, in a pathetic attempt to force air inside his lungs. He remembered himself in the same position right after Minato performed the sealing ritual that sealed the fox inside Naruto. With Naruto now standing up and wiping the drool from his mouth, he looked at Jiraiya waiting for phase 2. What is the next phase? Now, like Fugasaku-sama here explained, you'll have to face the fox head-on. Naruto nodded as he followed the group towards the place where Naruto would be facing the fox. Jiraiya, in the meantime, began to explain what Naruto had to do. When you open the gates, the fox will come at you wanting nothing but to kill you. Aside from defeating the fox, you must capture the fox's chakra. As soon as the fight starts, you'll know what you have to do. A bit of warning, though, just like you can capture its chakra, the fox can also capture your own. If that happens, you're finished. Naruto nodded and Jiraiya could see a fierce resolve in the kid's face, even though he knew that Naruto was worried about his odds. It was something all Jinchuriki went through, though. In order to truly master the beast's chakra, the Jinchuriki must face the beast and literally steal it. Just in case I fail, is there anything that can keep the fox from getting free? Jiraiya looked at the Chunin, surprised that Naruto actually voiced his concern over his odds. Not that we expect you to, but steps have been made just in case. The room we are about to enter is a special chamber filled with seals that are able to keep the fox inside. The Chunin just nodded without uttering more words, which still frightened the Sannin a bit. For someone who used to be so loud and obnoxious, seeing Naruto behaving like this still unnerved the Sannin. He blamed everyone for this, but above all, he blamed himself for not protecting Naruto enough, forcing the kid to take all matters on himself. Perhaps if he had told the truth back when the timing was right and taken Naruto under his wing, then he wouldn't be this way now. There was a reason that Konoha no longer forced too many responsibilities in one so young. The inexperienced mind just couldn't cope with the pressure. He could see in Naruto's eyes as they walked, that the kid had taken the fox's burden all to himself and it saddened the man that he couldn't do anything to aid Naruto against the fox. After 5 minutes walking, the group stopped in front of what looked like a warehouse. The door opened and Jiraiya stopped Naruto before he could enter. Sadly, I can only show you the door Naruto, it's you that must walk through it. The boy nodded with a smile as he understood. He walked inside the structure, before he saw the door closing. As soon as he heard the noise of the door closing, the walls started to glow as the seals were being drawn right in front of him. The entire procedure took 1 minute, before he saw that the seal arrays were drawn around a square that was located in the middle of the room. He jumped from his position and landed inside the square, before seating in lotus position and closing his eyes. In doing so, he didn't notice that the room being engulfed in a bright white light as he went straight to the room where the fox was being held. At the fox's cage when Naruto opened his eyes once more, he was standing in front of the fox's cage and looking straight at the creature's eyes as the demon stared at him as well. Above all things passing in Naruto's mind, was to hear what the fox thought of all this. The deal was that in exchange for using the fox's chakra, Naruto allowed access to the outside world. That meant that the Kyuubi now shared his ability to hear and see the outside world. No doubt you heard everything that happened until I came here. I want to hear your side in this. Naruto asked, but the fox remained silent, but the fox didn't divert the stare. Pathetic meat bag, I care very little about your human problems. In my opinion, you're weak and you forever will be without my help, of course. Despite the dire situation, Naruto couldn't help but frown at the beast's comment. He was already thinking of ways to beat the living crap out of the fur ball for the comment. Should you decide to go through with this little plan of yours and release me, I guarantee you that I'll show you how pathetic you really are. Not to mention that in doing so, you'll be condemning the entire world to hell. This place your body is right now won't be able to hold me and I'll be prepared for when I escape. Naruto looked at the fox in front of him this time with narrowed eyes. He was having doubts about this, but now the game was on. It was stupid of me to come here and try to reach a settlement with you bastard Kitsune. Let's deal with this shit. Naruto marched towards the cage and lifted the seal tag that kept it locked. In front of him was a strange symbol that appeared to be some kind of lock. He figured that the key he received earlier was to open this strange device. After activating it, he saw the same lock structure being drawn in his hand, before he placed his hand on the lock and turning it. In little more than 5 seconds, the lock was no more and the fox slammed the prison bars, violently opening the gates, while trying to kill Naruto right there. The Chunin had already jumped backwards by the time the lock was opened and saw with surprise that next to the fox a shimmered image appeared. Looking to his right, Naruto saw in surprise that he had a similar one as well. A bit of warning, though, just like you can capture its chakra, the fox can also capture your own. As he remembered Jiraiya's words, he now connected the dots that this appearance represents the fox's chakra he was supposed to steal. He could see the fox smirking at him, probably believing that he was nothing but a healthy snack for the beast. Suddenly, the creature lunged at its host, attacking Naruto head-on with its claw. Naruto evaded the attack and started to run on top of Kyuubi's arm, while at the same time picking up his metal staff and twirling it. He dodged Kyuubi's other hand trying to dismiss Naruto just like a human being sending a fly away from his body. Naruto soon reached the fox's head and aimed a powerful strike towards the fox's right eye, hitting it. The fox roared in pain, since the staff was layered with wind chakra. Naruto immediately went towards the energy he needed to capture and started the process of sucking the fox's chakra. He only had time for a little bit, before having to sever the link as one of the fox's tails was about to hit him. Naruto had to force a majority of wind chakra towards stopping the force of each tail while evading them to his best ability. Naruto took advantage of the distance and made a long series of hand seals, before molding a large quantity of chakra for this technique. Against the Kyuubi, Naruto couldn't afford to focus on anything but destructive techniques. Futen Saraisu no Tatsumaki, wind release, slicing tornado technique. In front of Naruto, the powerful beast of wind charged against the Kyuubi, before slamming it full force. The Kyuubi, though, merely stood its ground while battling against the powerful wind technique. It roared in defiance, before releasing the hurricane from his presence, but not without a cost. Naruto's technique was not only strong, but filled with wind chakra. Naruto could see a great number of deep cuts in Kyuubi's fur that must have hurt like a bitch. He didn't have time to smirk at the fox's misfortune as the beast opened his mouth and threw a Bijudama straight at the Chunin who looked at it in surprise. The violent energy rocked the cage. Naruto, however, appeared a few inches away from the blast, summoning a last-minute Kage Bunshin to replace himself. He just didn't have any defensive technique in his arsenal strong enough for that, which frightened him a little. It seems the fox is indeed trying to kill me. I can't allow him time to prepare the technique. Naruto had to run quickly as the fox was preparing another Bijudama. He used his mastery in wind to increase his speed until he appeared right beneath the fox's claw. Since the creature was busy concentrating on the energy, it wasn't aware of Naruto's presence, allowing Naruto to attack by slicing the fox's paw with a concentrated wind sword. The fox screamed in pain and flew on the ground. Naruto immediately summoned a Kage Bunshin and jumped together while forming a considerable Udama Rasengan. The fox looked up and snarled at the kid who insinuated he could hurt the almighty Kyuubi no Yoko. The energy formed by the Rasengan was 4 meters wide in diameter as Naruto dived towards the fox. Kyuubi used all its tails to block the powerful ball of energy. Naruto tried to create some distance and tried evading the fox's tails, but one did hit him and send him flying. Since the place was filled with water, it smoothed his fall. Quickly summoning 3 Kage Bunshin, all 4 of them began a large series of hand seals, before the water on the ground started to stir. Suiten Suiryuden no Jutsu Water Release. Water Dragon Projectile Technique. 4 water dragons charged at Kyuubi who wasn't able to parry the attacks, roaring in rage as each dragon did its damage on the fox's fur. Naruto looked at the creature from his position, wondering how the hell he will defeat the fox if every technique he threw at the Kyuubi, his body would heal instantly. It's not like his chakra capacity was endless here. The Chunin was surprised as hell when the fox managed to gather energy inside its mouth faster than before and threw it at Naruto. The energy was approaching the Chunin fast and the shinobi didn't have the time to dodge or even summon a Kage Bunshin to help him escape. Suddenly, something appeared in front of Naruto that surprised both him and the Kyuubi. Kanji started being written in thin air, forming a strange structure. The Bijudama slammed at the strange seal structure, before being sucked inside and disappearing. The energy appeared far from his position, before blasting the area far from Naruto. When Naruto turned to see what happened, he was shocked as hell to see none other than the Yondaime Hokage there with his arms stretched. Yondaime. What are you doing here? The man in question smirked at the younger blonde. Now is not the time to talk, Naruto. You have a mission at stake here. The Chunin kept looking at the man he referred to as his idol in continued surprise. Surely, he wasn't seeing things, because the fox was now angry, well angrier than before. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the sudden appearance, but turned to the beast he was facing. He had a great number of questions and he was getting answers after this mess was fixed. Looking at the beast, he charged at the beast while dodging its tails, before standing right in front of the fox, while finishing a long series of hand seals. Futen Atsugai Wind Release. Pressure damage technique. The huge dome of wind charged from all directions, hitting the fox full force, once more earning a mighty roar in defiance. The wind chakra caused new slashes in the fox's fur, forming holes all over the place as if Naruto was yanking it. Once more, Naruto was surprised when a good number of chains came from the ground and trapped the fox in place. Naruto didn't understand a thing as now next to the Yondaime Hokage, was a long red-haired very beautiful woman. The chakra chains came from her back and both of them were smiling at Naruto. Now, more questions appeared in Naruto's mind. He presumed that since the Yondaime performed the Kyuubi's sealing inside of him that the man would be here, but who was this woman and why could he sense something else radiating from these two? He turned to the fox and noticed that its attention wasn't focused on him, but on the 2 new presences behind Naruto. Taking advantage of the situation, Naruto grabbed the fox's energy and started the stealing process. He could see the red malevolent substance leaving the fox and reaching his body, before engulfing his body. His body started trembling in rage as he could feel the same evil aura as he felt when he used the fox's chakra for the first time. Despite it all, he didn't stop the procedure. He didn't know what the hell was going on, but he was damned if he didn't take advantage of this opportunity. He could hear screams of pain. He could see evil in its pure form, caused by the amount of hatred gathered by the humans. When the process was finished, Naruto released its hold on the fox's chakra, but he was still trembling at the level of hatred he was feeling right now. This time, he was relieving all his troubled life before becoming a genin. The fox was weakened on the ground and Minato took the opportunity to reseal the beast inside, while Kushina went to help Naruto get over. She kneeled right in front of him and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, forcing Naruto to look up. His eyes were black and red. Who are you? Kushina smiled at Naruto. I'm your mother, Naruto, Uzumaki Kushina. In the ninja world, just claiming to be someone meant nothing. However, just looking at the woman's smile was enough for Naruto's eyes to go back to its previous color. Just something Naruto saw in this woman made him believe she was telling the truth. Since the malevolent chakra was now stored in Naruto, the last part consisted in him incorporating it to his own system, thus literally cleansing it. Looking at the woman that appeared to be his mother, Naruto started focusing on his chakra. He needed to control. He screamed in fury, not allowing it to control him, before a golden energy appeared surrounding his body. The pain was gone as he looked at this new transformation with nothing but curiosity. The young blonde noticed that the Yondaime Hokage was done trapping the fox once more and appeared next to the red-haired woman. We are very proud of you, Naruto. No wonder, you're my son. Minato showed a smile similar to Naruto's own when he was genuinely happy with something. The Chunin kept looking at the two in front of him, still having trouble swallowing the truth. The golden energy was already gone as he started walking slowly towards them while trying to call them by their names, by their relation towards him. It was so surreal, meeting them after close to 16 years. Each step solidified the notion that he wanted to believe that he had finally met his parents. Each step he realized that he had parents who loved him and that he wasn't abandoned because of his status as a Jinchuriki. When he stopped and stared at his parents, every emotion that he repelled, every tear he tried so hard not to fall, every force he had in not crying was released right there as he enveloped his parents in a long and hard embrace, while releasing close to 15 years worth of tears. Minato and Kushina eagerly returned the embrace, both crying as well as this was the first time the Namikazes got to hug each other in 16 years. The family was reunited once more and Naruto wanted to savor each second of this. Outside Naruto's mindscape, the place Naruto was in had a special room where Jiraiya and Fugasaku were there watching the Chunin since the beginning. They were surprised and rather frightened when the red energy surrounded Naruto. The tails were appearing one after another and by the third tail, Jiraiya was convinced that something went terribly wrong and with a heavy sigh, was already preparing the adjacent seals inside the room for when the fox took full control over Naruto's body. It was only due to Fugasaku's insistence that Jiraiya waited to use the seals when the fourth tail appeared. When the tails were slowly receding, both Jiraiya and Fugasaku realized that both were holding their breath without realizing it. Now both were smiling as the kid had done it, apparently. Inside Naruto's mindscape, the Namikazes were now seating inside a blank room, conversing about Naruto's life as well as what really happened at the time of the fox's attack on Konoha. Naruto was shocked to know that the attack wasn't random, but planned by a man wearing an orange mask with swirling design. He was even more surprised when he asked his father about a similar one that prevented him from taking Sasuke to Konoha. Naruto now believed that this man was the real leader of the organization after him and already made a mental note to report his findings to the Alliance when he came back. Right now, Naruto's entire attention was focused on the picture in front of him. His parents were looking at him with a bright smile on their faces. He admitted not having that much experience in being a part of a family. He could see the similarities between his life and how his parents behaved. His mother clearly was the one he took his personality from and his appearance mirrored his father almost completely. A single tear escaped his eye as he smiled at them. This picture would be forever recorded in his mind. "What's wrong, sweetie?" asked Kushina before Naruto showed a smile. "It's nothing, I'm just happy to have had the chance to meet you too." Both Minato and Kushina smiled. "Ever since I was born, I was on my own trying to survive. People sent me looks all the time. Vendors overpriced everything I wanted to buy, being food, clothes and ninja supplies. Sandai Mojichin tried his best to take care of me, but he had an entire village to run. Despite it all, not once was I told of the truth of what I am or who my parents were. I didn't know if I was abandoned by you guys." Both Kushina and Minato knew about all this, having been inside of the seal, sharing their child's pain. "But now that I had the chance to meet you too, it's been a dream of mine and for that I thank you all for what you did." Looking at Naruto, both his parents could see that their son was happy. They were prepared to face his pent-up anger if they had to. Naruto needed to master the fox's chakra. Minato could only wonder how Naruto will behave when he confronts Jiraiya after knowing that the man is his godfather. "Now Naruto-kun, I can see you have a girlfriend, huh? Can we expect some grandchildren soon?" Naruto looked at his mother with a nervous smile on his face. "Ka-chan, I don't think I'm ready for having a baby, although it would be so nice to have one. I don't know about Yugo-chan, though." Both parents laughed at their kid's embarrassment. Minato, being the Hokage, knew little about his daughter-in-law. He remembered her as a fresh out of the academy genin and the woman from Naruto's memories. Even so, he could see how his son brightened when he spoke about Yugo to Kushina. He started to pay attention as the boy was still talking about her. "Yugo-chan and I have been together for 2 years now, but with the world in this state, having a child now would only place him or her in the middle of this mess. Not to mention that I'm completely alien to the prospect of being a parent." Minato and Kushina actually smirked at the last part. Kushina, though, decided to comment on something rather funny. "Naruto-kun, no parent is ever going to be prepared. I remember when I announced to your father that I was pregnant. He just kept repeating the phrase, "I'm going to be a father," for half an hour. Minato actually frowned at the revelation, earning a warm laughter from their son. Plus with him gone constantly either in missions or handling the village, he didn't have the time to be around much to help me during the pregnancy. In choosing not to have a child during wartime, you have showed us a very mature decision, typical of any parent, and for that I'm really proud of the man you became, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded in appreciation, before being surprised that the images of his parents began to vanish a little bit. Both Minato and Kushina were already aware of this as they had to use the remaining chakra they had inside the seal to aid Naruto against the fox. Minato placed a comforting hand on Kushina's shoulder and nodded at her with a smile on his face. He then turned to Naruto. "I believe our presence here is at an end, Naruto. In aiding you against the fox, we have used all our stored chakra." Naruto looked like he was about to protest and even swallowed hard. "I understand and thank you both for ever being there for me, even if I only knew about this now." His parents shared their son's humor. "I'll always cherish this memory of us fighting together as a family." Naruto couldn't express his feeling in words anymore and gathered Minato and Kushina for a family hug, trying to take as much time as possible feeling the warmth of their embrace. "I love you all and I'll make you too proud of me, of that I swear. We are already proud of you, Naruto-kun. One last thing, though, before we go." Naruto looked at his father in the eyes. "Locate our house in Konoha. Talk to Jiraiya-sensei, he knows where the house is. He is your godfather after all." Naruto nodded at them, before seeing their image disappear for good and a lone tear escaping his mother's eyes that fell on the water. When Naruto realized, he was back inside the cage room, giving his back to the fox he had just fought against. From the fox's appearance, it was clear that it has seen better days. The Kyuubi was almost out of breath and his fur was practically falling from his body. "How do you feel now that you've practically stolen my chakra against my will, brat? If it wasn't for your parents helping you, I'd be eating your bones right now." Naruto's back was still turned to the fox, before he turned with a smile on his face. "When I had access to your chakra, I could feel the amount of hatred you carry with yourself all this time, fox. I now understand the reason behind your behavior." Kyuubi's eyes were focused on his jailer as Naruto spoke, still with a smile on his face. "I don't know how, but I swear to you that I will do everything I can to rid you of your hatred. It is my compromise to you." The fox narrowed his eyes at the Chunin, before sneering at him. "Pathetic, you couldn't even cure Sasuke, let alone attempt to tamper with my hatred. You've known me long enough to realize one important aspect about me." Naruto vanished from his position, before appearing right in front of Kyuubi's eyes. "I will never give up." Naruto smiled once more, before leaving the place. As he walked away, he didn't know that the fox was watching his back, questioning if the kid's words had merit or was just like everyone else before him. Outside his mindscape, when Naruto opened his eyes, he was back inside the room at Mount Myoboku. So much has happened in such a short time that he actually felt kind of dizzy. He fought the Kyuubi no Yoko with his strongest techniques, he met his parents who happened to aid him against the fox, he learned that they were indeed their parents and the real truth behind the Kyuubi's attack. Above all, he remembered one specific piece of information that made him slightly mad. The door behind him opened and Jiraiya walked through it, apparently congratulating Naruto for being able to confront the fox and complete the necessary procedure. "Congrats Gaki, now we can go back to Konoha. Your new team is waiting for you." Jiraiya was a little taken aback when Naruto stared at him with apathy. Naruto, then, got up from his seating position. "Thanks a lot, Godfather." The last word was spoken with such spite that to Jiraiya it felt like he received a jab far stronger than Tsunade's. The perverted Sannin was frozen in place, while Naruto was walking out of the room, not even bothering to hear the explanation of why the man didn't bother to mention the truth during their training trip. It happened just like he feared it would. He knew Minato to be a genius and he knew that somehow he would have left something inside the seal that allowed him to reach to his son. The last thing he wanted right now was to deal with this mess. Well, aside from the fox taking over, that is. He had agreed with Tsunade that the timing just wasn't appropriate to reveal the truth to Naruto, especially since Iwagakure had declined the alliance. Marching outside the room, he found Naruto waiting just outside. It was now needed of him to talk to the Gaki and try to absorb his anger somewhat. "Naruto." Jiraiya tried to talk, but Naruto interrupted. "I'm not looking forward to any sort of explanation here. I'm not mad only at you for not speaking the truth, but Sandame, Tsunade and even Kakashi-sensei as well. They all knew and no one even bothered to tell me about it. Jiraiya was looking down at this point. My parents did the impossible by sealing a bit of their chakra inside the seal so that they could talk to me. You all, on the other hand, were in my life since I was born and didn't bother to tell me, or even give any indication. As a shinobi of the village, I understand why none of you told me. The Sannin looked up in hope, but Naruto wasn't finished. As a human being, however, I find myself wondering how I'll ever forgive all of you for keeping me away from the truth all this time. Jiraiya just didn't have words right now. It was inevitable that Naruto would react like this. How the hell do we get out of this place? Naruto screamed, looking for Fugasaku to take him to Konoha. With Sasuke after taking a fair amount of time adapting his skills to the Mangenkyu Sharingan, Sasuke marched towards Tobi demanding to review Itachi's location. The leader was all too happy to oblige, giving him everything Sasuke needed to find Itachi. The following match fit right in his plans as Itachi was a wild card in his organization. Tobi knew that Itachi wouldn't do the organization's bidding for long. Quite frankly, Tobi much preferred someone to whom he could easily manipulate to do his personal bidding. Sasuke would be the vessel of his will. As he saw the Uchiha leaving the area, Tobi couldn't help but smirk behind his mask, before vanishing in thin air. Author note: and that's it for now. I even contemplated giving Naruto Senjutsu as well, but given that he now has the fox's power, it seemed irrelevant to train him in a weaker skill, not to mention that activating the golden cloak is much faster and less risky than sitting still for a while gathering nature chakra. That being said, now that Naruto has access to the fox's chakra, the Alliance squad has a much stronger ally to fight against Akatsuki. Also, what will happen to Sasuke when he confronts Itachi? Will he convince Itachi to follow his plan, or will Itachi try to stop Sasuke? See it all next chapter. I want to take this opportunity and comment on the manga a bit. My indignation is Obito's entire reason for destroying the world. Rin, well, not exactly, because Obito was only Rin's teammate. That being said, his entire reason for world dominance is his crush on his teammate. Hell, what's the difference between his pain and, let's say, Tsunade, who lost both her brother and lover in the war? Sasuke, who lost his entire family at the hands on his brother. Itachi, who had to kill his clan. Nagato, who lost his parents to a couple of chunin from Konoha. Obito may have loved the idea of being Rin's boyfriend, lover, whatever. But he never even went out with her, as far as we know it. I would have thought that whoever Tobi was, he would have a valid reason, like Tsunade, Sasuke, or Itachi. Even Naruto had lost Jiraiya and the Sandaime Hokage, meaning that he had lost more than Obito had. I'm not even mentioning him growing up alone, because technically he didn't lose his parents. I'm not saying that the man didn't suffer enough or anything like that. I'm saying that other characters suffered much worse and didn't rebel against the entire world. I know that is all Madara's bidding, convincing Obito about his way of seeing things. Perhaps, Madara ordered Zetsu to tell Obito that Rin was in trouble, just to see her being killed. The manga is still due to explain that, by the way, since Kakashi wouldn't kill the woman and still remain a loyal shinobi of the leaf. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.